Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Chevalier, where we are here to help men and women find happy, healthy, and long term relationships. And it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, South American, or even the penguins in Antarctica. It's pretty fair to say across the board that almost everybody's looking for a happy and healthy relationship. Now, there's always going to be a few outliers that want to be alone. But let's be honest, most people live long enough in life, they tend to want someone to share that experience with. And that's where we come to today's topic. Sharing that experience is important. Love is one of the most beautiful things in the world. Love is the only thing that money cannot buy. And I tell this to my gentlemen all the time. Stop trying to buy love because it's priceless. Same thing with the ladies. Stop thinking that you can force a guy to love you if he doesn't love you, because no matter how much time you spend with them, no matter how intimate you are with them, no matter how good you cook, if a man isn't invested in you romantically, nothing's going to change that. And that's why today's topic is so important: making dating your number one priority. I tell men and women all the time, dating is about equal effort and equal energy. If you want someone to pour into you, you have to be ready to pour into them with equal effort. Perfect example. You want a man to cook for you, ladies? Ladies, you got to be prepared to cook for your man. Gentlemen, you want a woman that's going to call you, make you feel appreciated, make you feel loved, make you feel invested, then you need to be willing to pick that phone up and call. I tell people all the time, a text message is not an excuse to say, oh, well, I reached out. I always use a funny example. It's like a lady saying, oh, can we go somewhere nice to get something to eat? And then you pull up to McDonald's and you say, well, at least it's food. You say you wanted something to eat. Yes, when somebody wants something to eat, I'm not saying they always want to go to fine dining, but they darn sure usually, typically, are not talking about McDonald's. And it's the same thing when it comes to communicating. Ladies, when you communicate with a guy, you have to actually pick the phone up and call so he knows you're invested with your effort. And very often, the same way women want men to invest with money, I always hear about this spoiling, and I want a man that can give me the bag, and I want a man that can do these things for me. You have to be prepared, ladies, to give your time and effort to one guy, not two, three, four, five, one guy who wants to be with you and has shown with his actions that he wants to be with you just as much. Actions are everything. I know a lot of us come from the community where our grandparents once said, don't watch what he says, watch what he does. Same thing for the guys. If you're with a woman and she can't take the time because she's so busy to call you at least one time out the day, you probably should move on. Do not invest. Too often you hear people say, well, I don't want to be desperate. Like, it's a bad thing to be desperate in dating. I mean, most people are single not by choice. And as we get older and put ourselves in better positions, we find it more difficult to find what it is we're looking for. So I often tell people, make dating your number one priority. If you want somebody to make you a number one priority, then be prepared to put in the effort to make them, the number one priority. We often think so much about wanting somebody to do right by us. And in that same account, we have to be willing to do right by others. You often hear women talk about how good they want to be treated. I want queen treatment. Well, ladies, you got to give king treatment. And same thing for the guys. If you want king treatment, you got to give queen treatment. But the bigger issue here is making dating your number one priority. God is always going to be first. That didn't change, depending on who you are. Didn't change for me. But for most people, God is always first. After that, got to make dating the number one priority. Because if you want somebody to make you the number one priority, you have to be willing to do the same for them. I don't know anybody that goes into a relationship wanting to be number two. Everybody wants to be number one. And if you want to be loved, treated, and appreciated like number one, you have to be willing to love like number one. Peace.